follow the opening and trying to figure out where it went. And I'm like, is there supposed to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just started doing it and they're
Yeah. Not.
Yeah. We all set? We good? So I think we're at. All right. I think we're good that way. All right, everyone. So good evening and welcome to the January 26th, 2015 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Tom Mahon is excused because he's next door at a council meeting. So, and Lauren was far away today and told me that she didn't want to risk driving through the snow in order to get here. So she won't be here as well either. That's all I have for announcements. Anyone have anything else? Okay, next is public comment, but I'm assuming everyone sitting there is waiting for a business item, so I'll continue. So first up is Meridian Land Services, applicant in Oliver and Claire Cadron. Okay, sorry, I wanted to get it right. This is for review and recommendation to New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services of a dredge and fill permit at 30 Lakeside Drive. So I would ask that you sign my sign-in sheet so that our minutes taker gets it all right. And you can either put your address or your firm. And then also pronounce your name for them in the microphone. That would be great. I'll have to, is that one on? Is it bright green? Yeah? Okay. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Tim Furwerda with Meridian Land Services.
Yep.
Is this a good spot for kind of everybody can kind of see it?
Yep.
Does anybody need another plan? Or do you have your
We should
submissions?
We should all have one.
Okay, this is lot 6A-1-114. The address is 30 Lakeside Drive. And what we're here for tonight is to discuss a dredge and fill permit that we filed. And if you look at this plan, what he wants to do, there's an existing house there and he's going to tear that down. And the existing house is in yellow, the proposed house is in green. And the dredge and fill permit is for that little pink area that's right along Babusick Lake. And what he's got is a retaining wall and kind of a rubble stone in front of it that kind of juts out into the lake.
Yep.
So as part of this process, he wants to restore the lake back to where he feels the original shoreline was. So he's going to pull that back. And there's a concrete patio in upland of that retaining wall that he's going to remove as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a proposed silt curtain out in the lake, you know, for any turbidity that might get stirred up will be caught by that silt screen. We also did file for a shoreland permit, and that has been issued. I have a copy I can give to you of that.
Yeah, actually, we got a copy in the mail on that.
Okay.
So,
And I think last April or May, we applied for some variances corresponding to this work from the zoning board, and those were granted as well.
mm-hmm.
So in a nutshell, that's it. It should hopefully be a pretty simple dredge and fill permit. We're really just trying to restore the lake shore more than anything else.
Yeah. So you're going to remove the concrete pad and the rocks. And I'm sorry, I was juggling things. You are putting up a new wall, or are you just going to
Correct.
restore the?
We're gonna
Right.
put a new retaining wall in.
Right. So are you going to actually move, when all's said and done, and after you remove your booms and all that stuff, is the lake shore going to be the same shoreline as it was before?
Well, the arc will be gone.
Okay.
You know, the part of his wall that juts out
Yeah.
will be gone. So the shoreline will be more straightforward to where he thinks the original lake shore was.
Yeah.
But if you look at the pictures in there, you can see it, it's got a pretty uniform arc that's definitely man-made.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go ahead.
And you're saying the line that you've drawn on there is about where it's going to be pulled back to? Or is that the location of the silt fence now? What's,
This is the retaining wall right now that arcs out into the lake a little bit.
Yep.
This is where the shoreline is going to be when we're done. It's gonna be right through here.
so is all that cobble in the front of the stone wall going to be removed too? That's,
Yes.
so all, in the
I'm
fill,
sure
so,
some of that will get pulled back to here, so that, we'll have a stable shoreline when we're done.
Hmm.
So he's actually given up land.
So in putting the retaining wall in, what kind of drainage features are going to be in the wall? Because I'm assuming you probably want to get water out from behind it or anything like that. Is it going to?
Yeah, we haven't done anything for that, because it's gonna be lower than the one that's there too. You know, right now it's about 4 to 5 feet tall, and this one's gonna come down a couple of feet as well. So I don't think there's gonna be any real issue with drainage there.
where's the new wall going to be?
It's gonna be right here, from there to there.
And the stairs are not impacted at all on?
No.
No.
So essentially, in this picture, the pink is going away.
Correct.
Yes. So if you reduce the level of the wall, does that mean that the slope is going to be heading towards the lake now?
Yeah. I mean, it heads towards the lake now.
Mm-hmm.
Just that he's got it built up, so we've kind of got a two-tiered situation there. We have another one proposed up in here, so it'll drop down a couple feet there, and here it'll drop down into the water about 2 more feet.
Yeah. I was just wondering if it's going to become a waterfall in a storm situation.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the house is gonna block some of that. And there's a drainage easement across this lot that brings water from the Four Seasons subdivision down through. So I don't think there's gonna be, any issues with drainage right where that the new retaining wall is gonna be.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to look at all the elevations and get an idea of where the water was going to run, that's all.
And is the house is coming down, or it's proposed to come down?
The existing house is gonna come down. And the existing house is in the yellow,
Mm-hmm.
and the green is where the proposed house is gonna be.
Is the work on the wall going to be done prior to or after the house construction?
I don't really know the answer to that, but I expect it would be done after.
Mike wants to see it.
Yeah, normally I get the entire permit so everyone can see the pictures before the meeting, but we had a little snafu with the email or whatever, so it didn't all get out. So the part of the permit we have is all the wording, but the last part with the pictures didn't make it to everyone, so that's why I'm circling it.
Oh, okay.
I'm moving it around, so.
Do you need another one?
I don't know, has everyone had a chance to look at it now?
This is yours? Is this yours?
That's ours.
That's ours, Mike.
That's ours, yeah. So. Okay, so when the shoreline gets restored, is it gonna be a gravel, sand shoreline or is it, I mean,
In the water it
Yeah,
would be,
yeah.
yes.
okay,
But coming out of the water, it's gonna be another retaining wall.
right, okay. All right. No issues with waves and boats going by, deteriorating the retaining wall or anything like that?
Well, I think that's the main reason we want the retaining wall is to stabilize it against the waves.
Mm-hmm. Right. But, Okay, I guess so we don't think the wave action's gonna undermine the wall and cause it to crumble like the current one?
No, we want to put a good footing underneath this one, so it's
Mhm.
got something to sit on.
Mm-hmm. If we turn to the permit, I had a question on the permit itself. Actually, it goes all the way to the sheets for the Army Corps of Engineers, which is a ways back, Appendix B, I believe it is, or something like that. Well, it's so, under 3 wildlife, 3.1 says, has the NHB determined that there are known occurrences of rare species, exemplary natural communities, federal, state, and threatened endangered species and habitat in vicinity of the project, and that's actually marked as yes.
Yeah. The actual NHB is about 4 or 5 pages past there.
Yeah? Yeah, and that's the part I don't have, so that's,
Well, it's
You
it's in the actual permit itself, the DES permit
Yeah.
itself. If you look on page
right, but in there it says there aren't any, I thought.
right, it says it's not identified the area as being critical to fish and wildlife species.
Right, but it almost looked to me like the way this was said, it says there is, so I was just curious which one's right, or am I just not
No,
reading it correctly?
I read that as, what was it? Okay.
Says, I just didn't know if it was a,
Well, when we filed the NHB,
yeah,
you don't, should be in your packet there.
Yeah.
It says that there is a record. They don't say what it is, but they do say that they don't expect it will be impacted by this proposed project.
okay.
But
all
they
right.
didn't tell us what it was.
Yeah, they do that sometimes, because they don't want people to go fishing or looking or stealing or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
so, right. Okay, I must have missed that part. Okay, that's fine, that's why it was a question I had.
Yep.
And then I think I had one more. I did notice the thought of straw bales. We like straw
Right.
as opposed to hay,
Yeah.
if you have to use one or the other, so. All right. Actually, I think you covered my other question already. So is the current wall grandfathered? Because nowadays, it'd be very difficult for you to put a retaining wall that close to the water.
Correct.
Yeah.
That wall was, we think, put in prior to the Wetlands Bureau being there.
Okay. Yeah, when I Googled Earth or Binged or whatever you want to call it, it looked like most of the other neighbors had a very similar wall. It's as if that whole neighborhood got together at one point, 50 years ago and kind of did the same thing, so,
It seemed to be the thing to do to stabilize their shores.
yeah. Okay. All right, just wanted to check, because nowadays you wouldn't be able to do that, so,
No,
Without-
if there was no wall there,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to get one.
right.
Well, unless we
Yeah.
could prove that there was extreme wave action.
Correct, right, yeah. All right, anyone have any comments, any questions?
Nope.
Is there anything you want us to forward to DES, since we have an opportunity to provide comments?
I don't have anything.
All right, should I just inform them that we did review? And we did speak to their engineer? And we have no further questions or comments. Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure I get it right, because I did get, it's not Eben, it's Richard. I did let him know that we wanted to make a comment or have the opportunity to comment on it, so I will forward what I just said right now to him this week, and that way he can move forward with processing your permit. So,
Okay, great.
great, thanks for
Well,
coming in,
thank you for
Tim.
listening to me.
Yep. All right, so as I clean up, next on our agenda is JBD. Did I say that right? I'm trying to do it from memory. If anyone's looking at our agenda, we did have Boomer McLeod audit car audio, but we pulled that, and for the record, when reviewing the plans, it appeared that the project hadn't changed in any substantial manner, and there was really just a change in engineering firm, so I believe that the commission's comments from September were still adequate and correct for the project. So that's why they're not here. That's for the record. Kate, right?
Mhm.
Yep. My plan got lost. Here it is. So just for the record, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Catherine Basso from Keach Nordstrom Associates. I'm representing JBD Realty Group tonight. The property is map 5D1 lot 7. It's at 35 Railroad Ave. It's just shy of 2 acres in area, and it's already been developed. There's a 3,300 square foot industrial building and pave access drive right down the middle. It was formerly a school bus depot. In March of 2013, we were seeking planning board approval to construct a 20,000 square foot warehouse and associated site improvements, and we did get that approval in March. Due to economic conditions, though, they were not able to continue with that just yet, so the approval is still good, but in the interim, they're leasing the property to Outside Unlimited. It's a landscaping contractor, so they're using it as a contractor's yard. So the owner has leased the property, and it's used for vehicle storage, equipment storage, and every once in a while plant material storage, which lies on the gravel and paved surfaces for the most part, where the bus depot had parked all their buses previously. Usually they don't have the plant storage on site. It goes from the nursery to wherever they're taking it. Typically that is what they do, but recently they've had a couple little piles just because a job that wasn't able to be completed before winter. They had the leftover material. So we're here tonight because the property is in the Aquifer Conservation District, and it was brought to our attention that we need to do an interim site plan since it's a different change of use from what we previously got approved. But no exterior building or site construction is proposed.
And this property is already being used for this?
Yes, they're already using
And
that.
it's been, how long has it already been there, roughly?
6
Oh,
months.
okay.
Yeah.
So do you all recall, well, maybe all of you weren't here. So it's probably just Matt Gage and I who were on the commission the last time the previous project came up, so. I did pull minutes in case you want to see it. If you're curious, when we reviewed the last project, we had 2 comments for the planning board. One of them, granted, it was a complete redevelopment of the site, so you have to take that with the comments. So, but it spoke of the plans. It spoke of a 50% reduction in stormwater runoff from the way the site was laid out, because the new plans had retention ponds and all that all built into it. So that's part of it. And then the other part is the commission recommended that language be included to seek to minimize de-icing compounds, encourage the use of sand. and ask that applicators of de-icing compounds be trained and certified in the Green Snow Pro program from UNH. So that's just to remind the commission of what we had decided last time, so granted, it's a very different use and all that,
Mhm.
so, but,
Yeah, they're not proposing any additional impervious from what is already on there today, just some equipment storage.
yeah, so with that being said, the way the property slopes, it slopes towards the wetland that's either to the south, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that right next to the sloping part is the snow storage. So my concerns would be the use of any de-icing compounds
Okay.
that are used in the parking lot area or wherever else to not have that, so,
They don't, they're aware there's no salt on
Yeah.
storage, they don't use salt,
yeah,
just saying.
right, so,
They're fine with that stipulation being
okay. So that's something that I'd like to pass along to the planning board. So they would like to, instead of, the previous one had a minimization because they controlled the water
Mhm.
and they treated the water before it left the site. In this case, we're not doing any site improvements, so I just assumed we didn't have any.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's absolutely fine.
yeah.
There's a couple of areas proposed, truck storage, vehicles, and equipment storage. There's not gonna be any maintenance being performed down there
I don't believe
on those
so.
trucks or on the equipment?
Most of the employees take all their vehicles home. They have like 50 trucks in there.
I'm going to need you to come to the mic because my minutes taker won't be able to catch it. So your comments, so, and then if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure.
We're a pretty informal bunch, so.
Hi, I'm Jeff Dupont. I own 33 Railroad Ave,
Mhm.
35 Railroad Ave. So Outdoor Unlimited, like Katie said, they're renting. Their main base is in Meredith, New Hampshire. So they're just using this basically for a lot of their local guys that work here. But most of their employees do take all their vehicles home. Typically, if you go down there, you'll see about 3 or 4 trucks. They are using the office as a dispatch office,
Mhm.
and Jay Graham, that lives in town, runs this particular property. They do have like lawnmowers and stuff in the garage where they used to maintain the buses, but they know not to use any salt. They don't have any salt on storage. All their salt's in Meredith.
Okay. Yeah,
And that's basically it. Yeah.
because I was wondering in the wintertime if they did snow removal services and those other things that you see a lot of
They
lands.
do have a plowing service.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I said, most of their guys take their trucks home
Mm-hmm.
because they, if they live in Manchester, it's easier to go right to site than go to Merrimack and get a truck.
But just going back to the equipment and trucks, I mean, the maintenance is performed
In Meredith.
in Meredith,
Yeah.
so there's not gonna be
No,
oil changes,
no.
hydraulic fluids, anything like that, okay?
So there's also a spot for tractor trailer storage. Is there anything in the trailers?
Those are my trailers.
Okay.
My trailers used to be down at Elm Street, 33 Elm Street in Merrimack,
Mhm.
the old Yield building, and I had them moved over here because I was paying rent over there and I owned the property here, so I put them in there.
Yeah.
Most of them are empty. There's some chairs. I do an office furniture business.
Mhm.
That's what I do.
Okay.
So some of that has, desks and stuff and chairs like this
Yep.
in storage.
Nothing that will leak,
No.
Right.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I take it then there's no retail sales or anything going on there, so there's no customers going in and out of that?
He had a few people come in this year and ask if they could buy some plants, and he said, we don't sell, it's our customers.
Mhm.
So there was a few people going in,
Yeah, okay,
but no retail.
all right.
That's,
Anyone have any other questions?
I don't.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward, so. Yeah, we were just, wanted to make sure that whatever the rain carried, it didn't carry anything that we didn't like seeing going into the wetlands, so,
Understood?
yeah, so. You all set, Mike?
Yep.
Cindy? Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will forward that salt concern, which is pretty generic, but, so.
Okay,
And,
perfect.
and I'll do that this week, so it'll be in their notes, okay? Because you don't meet with them till February, correct?
February 3rd.
All right, good. So it's nothing I have to do overnight, even though they won't meet tomorrow night anyways because of the storm, or they don't meet anyway, so.
Can we include our standard litter or nomenclature about fertilizers? This might be a good opportunity just to let a landscaping contractor know that that's what we prefer in town.
We can do that. What's that?
That-
So,
It's not gonna really affect this plan, but it might be a
Right.
good chance to get them to know about it.
yeah, so since since the first plan went through, we've kind of adopted a thinking on fertilizers. A lot of the plants that we see have high phosphates in their fertilizers because phosphates are great to get things green fast and move things forward. And we prefer not to do that, especially near wetlands, because it also grows bad things in wetlands and foster, so whenever we see the use of fertilizers on plans, we ask them to either use no or low phosphates and then slow release nitrogen, because normal quick release nitrogen can also cause a lot of issues as well. So, and then we're also encouraging people, if they're actually going to use fertilizers in their landscaping plans, that they really should have their soils tested first, because most of the time you'll find that your soils actually have the right amendments in it, if that's the right word, or the right stuff in it to get your plants going anyway, so you don't need to add a lot of stuff. So if there was to be fertilizer storage and stuff like that here, we would be concerned that they store it properly and inside the building as opposed to outside. So,
Okay.
and if they were going to do update, obviously I don't think that anyone's going to be putting grass down out here over the, but if you were, that would be something to be considering. So, all right. So, great. All set?
Good.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that takes care of all the projects. Anyone see any of that white stuff falling out there? Are we still good to go? You comfortable to still go?
Oh, yeah.
Someone else seems to have arrived
Yeah?
outside.
Boomer came after?
Come on in.
Invite him in.
Yep.
Go get him, Mike.
Yeah.
Drag him in.
Oh,
Oh, hey.
he's no stranger.
Okay, thanks again.
Yep.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
It's getting close.
Getting close. Okay.
It's getting close.
Radar.
All right.
We got another couple minutes.
Okay. All right, you want me to continue with the business?
Sure, let's get,
Okay. Under old business, we had the finance review. So at our last meeting, we reviewed the year end and first quarter, and basically, actually, I didn't announce. We started the meeting at 6:32 p.m. and we have Sandy, Matt, Gage, Tim, and Mike here, just for our minutes taker. So I probably should have said that earlier. I am slipping. So we did we did a finance review, and there was a lot of questions as to what were the real end year amounts and all that. And when all was said and done, I think our suspicions were correct, and the numbers have been revised, and I sent that all out to you. Did you all get that?
Yep.
So at the end of the year, just for the record, so people will know, we finished Fund 51, one of our conservation funds, at $37,639.04, with $3,060 encumbered, which I've also asked that they unencumber them because the reason those monies were reserved are now passed, and they're leftover. We didn't spend all the money, so now they're no longer to be encumbered. So that money will go back into the fund. That's Fund 51. The Horse Hill Fund was accurate and correct from last meeting, at a little over $1,000. And Fund 53, our other special conservation fund, ended the fiscal year 13-14 with $1,264,321.17. I did go through all the 13-14 deductions and confirm them with Sue that we got them right, and there was some money in the wrong ones, but finance had fixed that, so that's why you had some colors in yellow that were hard to read. That was their corrections. So I believe that we're all good to go at this point, and everything is clean. So if you want, I can have them generate new spreadsheets, or if this serves the purpose, then I think we're good. So
I don't need another,
Yeah, I don't need it.
I don't need
Okay.
more paper.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think you needed more paper, and Sue has all the numbers down in her records, plus they're in finance too, so if you wanted to go see the nitty-gritty details, she has them downstairs. Okay? So, that's all I have. Anything else under finance review? All right.
Oh, maybe just, are we gonna, try and look at this maybe on a quarterly basis? Or
We-
even, semi-annual, just so that we can pick it
Yeah.
up sooner and have them move things if they haven't, put them in
Yeah.
the correct place.
I think we did it. Yeah, yes, the answer is
Okay.
yes, we should. Because I was preferring to do it semi-annually,
Yeah.
so. And I think the last time we looked at it was about that long
Yeah.
ago. It was before the end of the fiscal year, so,
Okay.
so.
Good.
All right. I'll add it into my calendar that I keep that reminds me of when to agenda certain things. So, because if not, I forget. So, all right. So that takes us to new business, and the first thing is Andrew, a visit with the Wildcat Falls Conservation Area Subcommittee. So,
Evening. Should I introduce myself for the minutes taker?
you should, and then you should sign in, please.
I have signed in. My name is Andrew Duane. I'm here representing the Wildcat Falls Conservation Subcommittee this evening to get approval for the new Wildcat Falls trail map. And if time permits, discuss a small amount of other ancillary related business.
Yeah,
So, did you get the electronic copy that I
I
sent?
did. And did everyone get an email pointing to where the map was?
Yeah, I thought it looked good.
Because I don't, if Wi-Fi is not working, I can't bring it up.
Okay, I have it on my tablet if someone would like to examine it now. And that's just sort of the standard Google Maps representation of it. I have the raw data and I have a saved map file, and there are a variety of third-party mapping services that can produce topographic overlays or wetlands overlays or parcel overlays or anything you'd like on it, given those raw data files. And they're also available for download to personal GPS devices if you want. So I printed out a couple of sample maps of what kinds of things we might be able to print out to post at the kiosk or to produce trifold maps. Here's the other one. Better scale rendition, and these were 5 minutes of effort. We can produce different scales and sizes as needed. So we'd like to get, I guess, formal approval to publish the maps, and then we'll figure out the exact format. We'd like to produce a map for the kiosk, get it printed, and get a few copies printed for trifold, and then get the maps published on the town website, or more correctly, links to the Google Maps and perhaps to the downloadable GPS files. That's part of the ancillary things that I'd like to discuss.
Yeah, okay.
What format is it in now?
So I have it as a KMZ file, which is what Google Maps and Google Earth use. And I have a conversion site that will produce almost any vendor's GPS map that you want, and do overlays and print maps in whatever size you want. So, all free.
Free is good,
Free is good.
Yeah, so one thing that we've been.
like open source.
Something we've been struggling with is the fact that all our properties have their own map style and map format.
Right.
And at some point, we need to find a way to synchronize and pull it so that we have a common look and feel to some extent.
Right.
So-
Which was part of what I wanted to discuss, and part of why I decided to keep this in a standard KMZ file and also a GPX file, which are kind of standardized
Right.
formats.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts?
I think GPX rocks.
Yeah.
The file you sent me, I can load it right up, import it right in, and it's
Yeah.
forever there, so it's.
And I also discovered that if you have a phone with the My Maps app as opposed to just a browser, you can actually load it in your navigator, and the GPS locator will tell you where you are on the trail, and you can follow it around.
Yeah.
So I have not yet discovered how to do that on an iPhone. I'm not sure if the Google My Maps is available for iPhones.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know either. So when I looked at it, there were a number of, in the legend, I believe there were a number of junction points. Is that how
Yes.
you? So are those going to eventually be marked?
Yes, so that segues into my next questions, which were, we wanted to get some guidance on standardized trail markings. I saw reference in the Greater Woods document, I forget what it was called, that said there was an MCC master plan set of goals for trail markings. However, my own research going through the various properties in town, as you say, no two have the same. So before we embarked on putting up more markings that are different from all the others, we'd like a little guidance from the Conservation Commission on what we're moving to and what we should have constructed. Our designs and thoughts were something similar in principle to Horse Hill, where you would have the 4x4 junction posts with the intersection number and possibly a trail name. Not all of our trails are named, as you can see. We decided to name the 4 major trails, and then there are a series of connectors that connect up to them. And the numbered intersections are where main trails intersect. There are other junctions that are just the connector trails, and we'll probably put small blazes or something that are, less obvious, but, visible. We think that Wildcat Falls is a small enough area that it doesn't really need huge numbers of large markings and arrows and such. It's a fairly small area. It's hard to get really lost in it. But that said, the style, design, placement, etc., we'd like to get some guidance so that we know what to build.
Okay.
Well, that master trail marking plan was more of a, well, that was part of what we did before when we started marking Greater Woods.
Okay.
And we stole some of the features of Horse Hill, and we added, because Horse Hill wasn't a great template because there's absolutely no motorized vehicles. So then we had to take the start of that and say, okay, now we have Greater Woods, which we have combined use. So the Greater Woods became kind of our sandbox, so to speak, to try these things out and see if they worked. So the marking, the plan of how we're going to mark things in the Greater Woods management plan is as close to a master plan as that we really have right now, because it never went much further than that.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So like Horse Hill, all the trails in Wildcat Falls are no motorized vehicles,
Right.
and they're all the same. I believe it was Class B.
right, so we were trying to stick with the same symbology, same colors, the 4x4 posts, that same philosophy, and that was, I said, that we kind of, Greater Woods took that from Horse Hill, so if we can continue
Right.
on that same path, it would probably be
Although I do notice that Horse Hill, the blazes they have that mark the trails are non-standard.
Right, the loop trail's white.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know we had discussed that earlier with sort of the main loop trails being white and the side trails being blue as sort of a New Hampshire or AMC standard.
Yeah, like
Yes.
the Appalachian Trail with the side trails, yeah.
Right.
So when Horse Hill was decided to be marked, at that time in the history of Horse Hill, the ultimate authority was the town community development director, who had ultimate decision on things. So he at the time decided to allow the Parks and Rec, not Parks and Rec, but the Ernie Buck, I forget what his title was, but allowed Ernie to set the standard. And Ernie set the standard based on what he believed the Appalachian Trail did, which was the white and blue. So that's kind of the precursor of things. So, and that's how Horse Hill got to be the way it is.
Right.
So,
And
just-
then, and I also noticed that Horse Hill has some larger signs that have,
The
2
big
foot
green
by
ones?
3 foot, the big green ones
Right,
with
yeah.
the use symbols underneath. And we feel there's no need for anything that elaborate at Wildcat Falls, possibly with the exception of a single set at the entrance kiosk.
Right. Yeah,
Or
I
the
believe that
entrance
makes
gate.
sense.
Yeah.
And I have some of those green signs. So,
Okay, the symbols,
No,
the use
the
symbols, the big ones,
Big
big
all right.
ones.
Yeah.
And I think I have one marked like Horse Hill is marked, which would be
Okay,
what you need.
so those are green and white like Horse Hill is?
It's
Um,
what is at Horse Hill, just a
Okay,
replica.
so we're comfortable using that if we think that that will help keep things standardized and there's
What about the-
value in that.
Blue markers, you have a ton of those?
Yeah, but they're spoken for.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd love to give them to you.
So in
No,
terms
they
of
need to be-
the
They need to be delivered here.
Okay.
So in terms of the 4x4 posts, one of our subcommittee members' husband volunteered that he has all the tools necessary to bevel, groove, and route numbers and trail names into the posts. We also have enlisted a civic group who in the spring is looking for a variety of projects to do at Wildcat Falls, and they have already volunteered to bring upwards of a dozen or more members out to do trail markings, post hole digging, and sign mounting. So we'll have all the labor to do that.
Great.
Okay. So we don't have enough markers at this point? We need to get more?
That's up to the Horse Hill subcommittee, who
Or is it-
has
Or is it first come, first serve?
800 and some odd
Mark?
markers ready.
Okay. I'm just wondering if we need to order more.
800 markers.
They go quick.
The 4x4 posts.
No.
Oh, the blazes.
Little white.
Oh, I was going to say yes. We need about
Blue.
250 of those or
Yeah.
so. And I was thinking the 4x4s. We
And
need
when-
7.
And when you
Post and beam house.
and when you put up the 250, you'll get a lot of feedback that
We need more.
I need more. I can't see one from the other.
Right.
But they were fine with nothing.
Yeah.
But when there's 250, they need 450.
Right. And of course, we also have the problem of the existing spray paint blazes on the trees, which we've been trying to remove, and we're going to continue that
Okay.
come spring.
Okay. Yeah. So, I guess it comes, so do we want to, well, we'll talk about materials. Don't leave without talking about materials.
Okay.
So, the other thing I just want to raise is the state property.
Yes.
We have no permission to mark the state property.
Okay.
Okay, we're in the process of trying to acquire an easement or a management arrangement with them, but until that's in place, I would be very uncomfortable with us as a commission moving forward with any markings on that state property.
Okay. So there are only 2 major intersections that are on the state property. They're actually right next to each other, and they're up near the highway overpass connector trail.
Yeah.
So we would be fine with leaving those off for now.
Yeah.
And so would that marking also include blazes on the trees?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Because what I don't want to do is jeopardize the
I
negotiation
understand.
that's in
This is-
process.
Been a point of contention, which is
Yeah.
why I clearly separated out. And I've double-checked through the boundary markers I found of the locations of the ones that are close to the property line, and there are a couple, and they are on the Wildcat Falls side of the property line.
Okay, all right. So maybe by spring we'll have this worked out. I don't know. So, but right now I'd be uncomfortable if we were today to start putting up markers, doing anything on
Okay.
state property.
And I also think at some point, especially when we start marking the state property, that we should coordinate with the town center trail and the high school trail
Yeah.
to make sure that we mark the connectors there.
Right.
The trail is already marked on the town center
Okay.
trail up to the bridge.
The footbridge?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And our thought was, once we can, to put sort of a single sign just past the footbridge as it goes up the hill that says, you know, entering Wildcat Falls or something, just to kind of say that you're entering the area, and maybe have a small area with some of the trifold maps available. Most people seem to know that trail already.
Right.
I have two comments on the trails.
Okay?
First of all, the trail that comes out of that bridge area and goes up, it used to go straight up,
Right.
and now it goes to the right and goes up.
Oh, is a switchback?
And
Sort of?
no, it's just along the hill, and it's very sandy.
Yes.
So pretty soon you're going to have a repeat of what goes up on the one that goes to the right.
I haven't actually looked at that piece of the trail since last summer.
Yeah, so it's already eroding since it was put in the spring.
All right.
To avoid the eroded part, they put it in another trail that's going to erode.
Okay. We can address that, I guess, once we get formal permission to be
Right.
on that area. So will the, I know that the one lot of state property only goes to within about 25 feet of the highway, maybe 50 feet of the highway. And then there's a separate piece of property that goes across, you know, buffers the highway itself. Would we also get easement permission for that trail to cross that piece of property?
It's not technically a separate piece of property, it's just fenced. Is that what you're referring to?
On the plot plan I got from Merrimack GIS, it looked like it was a separate plot.
Okay, so maybe I'm not understanding what you're, so on that map,
Yeah, so on this map, there's just sort of a small, there's this, which is the state land.
Yeah.
And then there's just a small buffer that,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
that really,
yeah, technically that's not a separate plot. That's all part of the highway.
okay,
piece.
that's just
So-
the highway right-of-way being
Right,
marked
that's
on the
a
GIS. Okay.
DOT highway piece, yeah, so.
So that was my first thing. The second thing on the map is the southeast half of what is called the beach trail.
Yes,
Just because it's a trail doesn't make it, in my opinion, doesn't make it good. And I don't believe it should be on a map or marked. I know it exists, but
That's the one that's right up along,
it crosses wetlands. It is not
yes, there's
a
a
place
section
you want to
in
bring
there
people.
that does kind of go into the wetland, and there seem to have been
Not
one or
kinda.
yeah, and there seems to have been one or two attempts to move it a few feet, but yeah, in spring
no-
it's a difficult.
There's no good place for that trail, and I don't believe it should be on a map or be advertised to bring people there.
Okay,
I think that, and I spoke to you guys about this before, I think that should be closed off and blocked.
okay. So you have no problem with the area that goes down from the top of the Falls Ridge
I do.
down to the little beach area, but
Well,
then
yeah,
continuing from the beach area up around.
right. Just the southeast half of that trail,
Okay.
because people are going to go to that beach from the falls.
Right.
But to go in from the other side, I don't think it should be advertised. In fact, I've blocked it off quite a few times,
Okay.
and it keeps getting opened up, and it got spray paint marked more than any other trail going down there.
It did. I noticed that there was a fairly recent reemergence of spray paint
they
on the
didn't
trees.
they didn't like me blocking off that trail,
All right.
whoever it is that's spray painting. But
Perhaps we can work something out with the Ravine Trail connector here to just make it a short loop that goes back up to here and block off this section.
I don't think there should be any trails in that area. It's just too wet.
So the Ravine Trail, especially if the entrance of it gets moved over a little bit, avoids the wetland because it's just sort of before it starts. That's the split right about where the wetland gets really wet. I know the area you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I brought it up to you guys before, and
Okay.
I noticed it made the map.
Everything that was marked made the map.
Yeah.
And since I have the raw data, it's a matter of 5 minutes editing to just take that
Take
piece
it out.
off.
Yeah, I really think you should. I mean, we could go out there and walk it and take a look. I mean,
I don't want to wait till spring to do it, because you can't do it now. You're not really going to be able to.
right
Oh,
now it's
you-
it's
yeah.
it's underwater. It's
You
ice.
can tell.
It's frozen
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
under. It's a
And
wetland.
in spring, it's impassable. In summer and fall,
Depends
it's
if it's
soggy.
rained.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I-
it sounds pretty
Yeah, it
obvious.
sounds-
Okay. it's
Yeah.
no question in my mind that you're bringing people through a wetland on that trail.
Okay.
We should definitely avoid that then.
So we can. I'll take that as an action item.
And
But-
even the slope going down there, just a matter of time before it erodes.
The one that comes down from the Falls Ridge,
From both sides.
both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good trail.
It is a very steep trail.
Yeah,
So.
it's not good in any way.
Speaking of which, this actually brings up a question I had. Is there a policy on trails that exist but aren't mapped? Do they have to be formally blocked off and or marked as closed trails?
We have no policy per se. The Horse Hill folks physically blocked off trails, and on some of them they put up signs. This is a non-maintained trail.
I've seen one or two of those, and I've seen trails that get moved again because an area becomes a wetland,
Yeah.
so they relocate a trail.
But
And in
no-
fact, we did that with the section at Wildcat Falls. But there's another piece of trail on here that's a very old, not often, but occasionally used trail. And it's kind of a scenic piece of trail, but I was ambivalent about mapping it at all.
Mhm.
And the only reason I mapped it is because the junction is very obvious. But once you get 20 or 30 yards into the trail, it's
Oh.
kind of vague.
down near the swamp area,
No, it's actually up on top of the ridge above the river along the beach trail.
Okay.
In fact, in my years of hiking Wildcat Falls, I had never seen that trail, and it was a surprise to me when I went out with my GPS to map it that I found this other trail, and I thought I was at the wrong intersection. When I drew it on Google Maps, the trail went somewhere else and ended me up at a different place, and I had to go back out and check.
Okay.
So my thought was possibly to not put those on the map and just kind of let nature take its course.
Yeah.
A few people seem to know where they are and hike them, but
It's much easier to add than to try to take a trail off. So if you're in question of a trail or its validity, I'd leave it off. I mean, you maybe maintain the data, keep the data, but
Right.
don't display it. And
Yeah.
we get a chance to go look at it in a couple different seasons to make sure it's going to be a valuable trail. It's going to be a lot easier to put it on the map.
okay. So I actually have a lot more data than is on this map. I located the property boundary markers, the little granite posts, for example, out by Pine Haven Street, and I located a few other features that were on here, and they're in the file, but they're commented out so that they don't appear on the map, but we have them as references later.
Okay. Well, that's good. Good to have. All right.
Well done, by the way.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
I was
So
impressed.
once I figured out how to use the GPS, this was actually a fairly simple process to do. And you talked about standardized formats. Maybe we should get the other places to undertake the same thing. Then we could have standardized entries on the town website. There's also there are also one or two public websites that map hiking trails throughout the country and throughout the state. And once you have a KMZ file, you can just upload it, give it a name, and then they publish it. When people are looking for places to go hiking in Merrimack, this place pops up with a trail map that they can download.
Yeah. NRPC is trying to do an effort of capturing trails and having the ability to get attributes on the trail so you can know what you can and can't do on them and all that. But
Right.
that project seems to have stalled a little bit, so I'm not sure where it's going. But when it comes to Horse Hill, we have a full GPX of the trail, including GPX of the posts and the benches and a bunch of other stuff too. So we could easily put that into this.
Right, and we can do the same thing. We've talked about putting a few benches in,
Mhm.
and they're pretty easy to GPS locate and,
Yeah.
and put on the map if we need to. Horse Hill does seem very organized.
Well, they've been at it longer than you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think have more people on the committee.
Yeah, a couple more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lots of volunteers, lots of use. So, yeah.
All right.
So, materials.
So I've made some rough counts of about how many posts we'd need. We'd like to do whatever types of blazes we want, the white squares like Horse Hill, or I think it's blue triangles, or the
triangles, yeah.
Class B trails. And we'd like those, and a few other ancillary signs to mark the minor intersections, and a few guidance signs to point to the parking lot, for example, at a couple of junctions. And when a connector trail comes upon a major trail, in 2 or 3 places, we'd like a sign to just point out what that major trail is, just so that you can find your way around. All told, it's going to be 7 intersection posts, well, 5 until we get state permission, and about 250 blazes, and about 5 to 8 small ancillary signs. And I'm not sure how much those blazes cost, but the rest of the signs should probably be on the order of $200.
Yeah. So why don't you put together a whole list,
Okay.
and we can formally approve that at our next meeting?
All right. So do we want to go in the spirit of Horse Hill with the green square
we do,
4x4s?
Because that's also at Greater Woods,
Yep.
Okay.
right?
And then perhaps one of the large signs at the entry gate.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's a matter of getting enough white and blue. Then I take it. How are we on white?
Plenty.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, yeah, plenty to.
So are we going to go white and blue, like Horse Hill, or use the Class A, B, C, D?
Class ABC like we do up in Greater Woods.
Yeah.
This now becomes this becomes the breaking point.
Right,
You know,
right.
we've got one this way and one this way.
Right. Yeah, I would think we'd want to
Yeah, we got your main trail, white, and they got the
Well,
blue, everything.
well,
else is blue.
our main trail is yellow.
Yeah, but that's ATV.
Because
It's
a
ATV.
all use.
Correct, right. So this would be an all blue system, huh?
All blue if we're following the Greater Woods standard. The only reason why Horse Hill has white and blue is because so many people for so long
Yeah.
just hiked. So many people for so long just hiked Loop.
Right.
And that was it. And it was 4 miles, and people loved just that.
Mm-hmm.
At Wildcat Falls, you know, the whole thing isn't even 4 miles.
Right.
Yeah.
So do we mark it all blue and, you know, put like you did, you know, the North Loop is 1.1 miles, you know, and put those categories on there, and people can just follow the posts in the blue, and then they're not going which one's white, which one's blue.
Oh.
So we have about, if we discount the beach trail, there are 2.5 miles of main trails and about 3 miles of connector trails. And about half of that are in areas where the trails are so blatantly, glaringly obvious that you don't really need many blazes on the trees, even in winter.
Yeah.
There are a few places where they go more deeply through the woods, and we'd probably need more blazes. And about a quarter of that would probably be on state land, so we wouldn't have permission to put them up now. So I'm not sure what the standard for blazes is, you know, per mile, or, you know, what kind of conventions there are.
Within sight, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically when you're at one, you should be able to see the next one.
So probably be thinking about 2 every 50 feet, because you need both sides.
Depending on the windiness.
The
I mean,
windiness
if
of
you've
the
got a
trail.
good line of sight, You can go 50 feet without another blaze.
Right. So thinking of that as an average, that's about 200 per mile. Okay, so I see where 800 goes pretty fast now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I will try to put together a comprehensive count of the signs and types of signs we need,
Yeah.
and be able to present at the next meeting.
Yeah, verbiage too on your unusual signs. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because then we can move it forward to get it actually created. So is waiting 2 weeks going to hold anyone up? Was someone planning a winter project of routing and cutting?
Her husband can probably do that. We'll see what happens. Our goal is, I believe, in May to early June to start sign erection, because the ground should still be soft and a little bit wet, but it won't be frozen anymore. And we're coordinating with our civic volunteer group.
Yep. All right, is everyone good with the idea of at our next meeting take up a...
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, when is the next meeting?
It's the 9th.
Of
February,
February.
or it's very early March, if you prefer very early March, whatever your timeline is. I don't want to push you.
6th. Okay, I'll be here for the 9th.
Okay. All right, so one last question. Heritage Trail.
Yes.
Is there a trail called Heritage on the map?
There is not. So the names of the trail were pretty informally decided. I know that there is the sign at Courier Road that says Heritage Trail, and we've had at least one email from somebody asking about the Heritage Trail system.
It was supposed to be follow the Merrimack River and go basically follow the water source from north to south.
Yep.
But the railroad got in the way and it pretty much died out. And also the side trail is going to come along from from where Kids Cove is. And it
Right,
comes
because
up to
I
here.
know the goal was to connect this through the town center trail up along the Merrimack River, and then hopefully eventually connect with the piece up in Bedford that's marked as the Heritage Trail.
Right. And there's pieces north.
And the railroad won't let them do that anymore.
It was just too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago. It was,
Yeah. So the compromise was to just have the small Heritage Trail inside Wildcat Falls. And that's why all the markers went up. And at one point it was put together with the help of Boy Scouts, and it was well marked at one point. Now
Okay.
that exact trail line is no longer in place. The exact trail that used to be used because the new emergency access way that went in with the logging kind of eradicated what was the Heritage Trail. I could walk you through it. It's still, pieces are still there, but they've been incorporated into other trails or whatever. So
Yes, we have a few pieces of Ghost Trail
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the middle of the park.
you do. Yeah.
And I have not mapped them on this, although I do have the data for them.
Yeah.
And we've decided, that's why I was asking, we've decided to probably leave a couple of trails off, or maybe mark them as mystery trails or something, just for a little adventure.
Yeah, so the Heritage Trail had a committee associated with it. They met, they were organized, there was a lot of activity going on. So if we were to all of a sudden say there's no more Heritage Trail at Wildcat Falls, do we lose the heritage of that? Haha.
Will they
Well,
take the
yeah.
sign down? It's the only way I can
It
tell
was going
people
to
how to
come
get
all the
there.
way. I was on the committee. It was going to come all the way from the Pemigewasset all through Massachusetts
Yeah.
and keep following the river.
Yeah, I mean, I have the email you sent. It was supposed to be from Massachusetts almost to the Canadian border.
Yeah.
Probably, I know at least to the where the initial water sources, so the Pemi and all that.
I guess my question is, do we have any concerns about no longer having a trail on there that says the Heritage Trail? Do we want to announce that that's our intention and see if the public has any outcry? And there was a lot of participation, so. What do you think? Or do you want to just or you want to move forward because it's a new day?
I feel like
I
we
mean,
say we're gonna get rid of it. I feel we're gonna slap
Yeah,
the mic.
like there's the old, there's kind of a little old name of.
Is there any place to put, granted, it doesn't have to be in, this right now, but is there some place to put another trail in there that we can rename as the Heritage Trail? Or make as the Heritage Trail, or is it not?
And I feel like if we don't do a good enough job in historically finding it, we again lose the heritage
Right.
of.
Yeah.
I'm curious, was that marked in any of the old maps I got from you?
Yep. Marked, named? No, but I can show you on that map what it is.
I think I still have, yes. So here's a copy of that original color map.
Yep.
Is it on there?
I'm used to seeing it.
Likely, I'd have to look at it.
Alright.
Yep.
Oh.
But it's not marked. I mean, it's not, I don't think I called it out on that map, so. All right, I mean, I don't have a,
I mean, a piece we could designate as the Heritage Trail, even though it isn't really very heritage-filled, is the Falls Trail along the south side after you pass the falls from the parking lot that loops back up around by the highway and then back to the parking lot.
yeah. My thought is why don't you go back to the subcommittee and ask them how they'd like to address that type of concern, and whether they'd like to either have a memento, a plaque somewhere that says that, these two trails now make up what was formerly known as the Heritage Trail, and maybe refer back to the committee, because we have a lot of the info in our records.
Okay. Oh,
Scott
that would be,
McPhee saved a lot of their old minutes and a lot of that stuff, and we have it downstairs.
Oh, yes. Actually, speaking of which, so in terms of publishing and putting information up, both at the trailhead and along the trail, I assume everyone here is familiar with QR codes.
Yeah.
So
It's those little
the
funky
little
black squares
square
with
dots, you can scan it with your phone, takes you to a website.
You know, Mike, you probably just don't know.
I don't have the smartphone.
Okay.
You stare at him looking for a face.
So there's, our plan is to
Don't do that
publish
when I'm
QR codes that will link to the website or the map. And there's also a new technology called NFC, Near Field Communications. And there's a company called WizTags, which make these little plastic dots about 3/4 of an inch across that are weatherproof, self-stick, and you can program them as QR codes, or put a little text, or put a link to something in it. And we were thinking of putting a few of those around to mark things like, this is where the old property line was, this is where the Heritage Trail used to be. So we might be able to do something like that with that, in addition to some printed signs that normal people can read.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that'd be the right approach. Let your subcommittee, talk about how they'd like to address the Heritage Trail.
Okay.
And give us some thoughts, so.
All right. And then, just to clarify, on the beach trail, are we in favor of removing the entire trail, or just the piece beyond the beach, back up towards the highway?
At least the piece beyond the beach towards the highway.
All right.
If you call a trail beach trail, you're gonna get a lot of traffic on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you look at the map, there's a connector trail that goes up the little ravine that starts shortly after the beach and right about near where the wetlands is. Perhaps the end of that trail could be reconfigured as to make a loop out of the beach trail that just goes right back up the hill to the original trail.
I think that connector trail,
Is-
I don't think that should exist either.
Okay.
Because again, that one
It's
going
fairly steep.
straight up a hill. I mean,
We might have to do a site walk and have a discussion on this.
Okay.
'Cause some of the aspects of that property, whether you put the trail on the map or not, it's not gonna matter. People are still gonna do it.
agreed. But
Right.
if you're gonna put markings on a trail that's that poorly,
Yeah.
designed. I mean, we dealt with the same thing on Horse Hill. There were some very poor trails, and some of them we didn't mark, and they still got used until we made a good trail close enough to it where people just stopped using the bad trail.
Okay. So this piece of trail where it comes down from the falls is one of these very high traffic, very blatantly obvious trails. It's completely compacted. Nothing will grow there. There's already a fair bit of erosion down the middle of that trail, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Blocking it off is not going to be an easy proposition.
No, I'm not talking about blocking off down to
down
the beach.
from there.
I'm talking about the connector and the one that keeps getting spray painted that goes along the water.
Okay. Yeah, so that piece beyond the beach, I do remember times when that trail didn't really exist. And then it sort of got
That was people
published,
blocking it off.
yes. So I can agree with that maybe take it down to the beach and then see if there was some way to maybe turn it into a small loop trail to go back up the hill in some way that was useful. But you'd like the rest of that blocked off?
Just me, but I think both of those trails are horribly laid out, and they're just not things you want to mark and bring people down that way. I mean, you could have somebody that's the farthest from any access point, and you could have somebody said, "Oh, here's a trail," and they fall down that hill.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not a well-designed
Right.
trail, and just because it's there and on a map doesn't mean it's good or
Okay.
should exist.
Well, I completely understand taking it off the map won't take it out of circulation.
No, you need to do some work.
Yeah.
too. You need to close it off.
So,
Drop a tree, something to make it
and
not
maybe
exist.
maybe put up a sign that says discontinued trail or trail under maintenance or
Or in the spring, you close it off real early and cover up the paint, and hopefully people, forgot
that it was there.
that it was there, and they only access it from a trail that's.
Go in there and plant a bunch of raspberries.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what we've done historically in both Greater Woods and Horse Hill, is we've dug a hole right in the middle of the trail, and planted a pine tree, and then
Okay.
leaned stuff up against it to make it look like it's been there for 10 years.
Right. Well, I'll take this up with the committee, what we want to do about that, because I know the beach area is a very popular area.
Yeah.
Agreed, and you can still get there from not great but always existing trail. But the two new trails that go to the bad area shouldn't exist.
So, do you mean that little connector up the ravine and then the piece?
Yeah, the two
It
trails
goes-
that you think of that you're like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Those are not good.
Yeah. Right. But there is sort of the main public heavily used
Right.
piece that goes from the top between the falls and the sand pit
Never
right
gonna
down
stop
along
people
there.
from using
You're-
that.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the point. That was the piece I was talking
Yeah,
about.
that should stay.
And I'm happy to mark that and then block off the rest of it.
Yes, that's my
Okay.
suggestion.
Because I know the beach is very popular. We take our dog down there all the time to swim.
And I want to say this as respectful as possible, but there are people on your subcommittee that really like using those trails that are not good.
Yes.
You'll have to address that with them, that they're not good and they shouldn't be used.
You're trying to do so.
Okay. So you're, yeah, I'm sorry to labor this thing on. So you're a representative to your subcommittee, participating?
We did not see her at the last meeting. I believe she was at the meeting before that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think those are the only two meetings
Right.
she's been in.
I know
the
she's been
position
having
for.
some difficulty, so my question to you is do you as a subcommittee think you need a more active participant on your subcommittee from the commission?
I don't know that it's an issue at the moment. We're not really undertaking a huge amount of business,
Yeah.
with the exception of the mapping and marking right now.
Yeah, so I don't mean to to say anything bad about Lauren, I mean, because it's obvious who, it's just that I know that she's been extremely busy with things. So if you feel that you need more participation, you'll have to let us know, okay?
Will do.
Don't think that we're abandoning you, okay? So just let us know, right? We also don't want to micromanage you, so,
Okay.
okay?
All right, so what do I need to do then to revise the map and get approval for it? Or do I have approval for it?
Well, at this point, we cannot include the state pieces, okay? I don't want to promote the state pieces.
Okay.
All right, and then there was an adjustment that we just spoke about. I think beyond that, I think you're good to go.
It's going to be an interesting challenge to take the state pieces off here.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was hoping to have it resolved at this point. So you may want to not invest a whole lot into the small map until we find out whether or not the state's going to cooperate with us or not.
Okay, so will the state even object to us posting a map at the kiosk with those trails on it and identifying state of New Hampshire
No.
property?
I don't know that answer. Okay, I'm trying to work that, but it's
Right.
a slow bureaucracy, and no one wants to take responsibility for it. So
Not that it's a good answer, but what we've done in the past is we've dead-ended trails that are ours and just said private property on the other side of the map. So people understand that they're going on a trail that's nothing more than a stub.
So,
Even if the trail exists there, the trail on the map just goes up and stops and it's
we have
private
put
property.
up several of the conservation area boundary signs at the appropriate spots along some of the trails that map that. And the good news is that the 3 trail pieces that cross over are blatantly obvious main trails that everyone knows about, and everyone knows if you follow this trail, you come out at the end of the power lines and then you just keep going back around the other side of the loop.
yeah.
So even if for the time being the map just said Darby Dragons and didn't publish those trails, people would still know.
Right, and you can just say, private property trails not maintained and
Yeah. Or in this case, you'd say state property.
state
trails.
property, trails not maintained.
Because the old map also did not show the state trails. In fact, the original map before mine, the one that was done by a Boy Scout after the Heritage Trail went in, did not show the trails on the state property.
Right.
Because there wasn't an agreement in place. So,
I mean, we know it's silly, but it's just,
yeah.
we're kind of hands tied, What are we going to do? Sorry.
I understand bureaucracies. I work for one. But again, since I have this as the raw data files, it's really fairly trivially easy to do that, and then just remove 2 lines that comment the piece out when we get permission from the state, and then it's and then the map is automatically updated.
Yep. Sounds good.
On the side, what are you using for an editor on the side note?
I just use a text editor on my
For the
system.
GPX data?
Yeah. They're just text files.
Yeah.
They're in XML, and I do that for a living. So I can go in and I tweaked it a little bit to smooth them out, and my GPS seems to think that the Falls Trail is 8 feet out into the Sauhegan River, so I moved that in a little bit to keep people drier. But it was just kind of editing and making sure everything lined up. And
Do you have the stone stairs on the map?
I do not. I mean, I know where they are. I know there's a couple of points that are them. We can call them out if you'd like.
No, I just think it's a kind of a historic feature.
That was
Yeah.
a scout project as well.
I often wondered where those came from.
It's a scout
I
project.
was going to say someone was very motivated to move all that granite that far in.
The scout just had an ox. He just wanted to use it.
Right, anything else on this agenda item?
I'm good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I will contact you about participation in the February 9th meeting.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I'm not actually sure if we have another Wildcat Falls meeting before that, so I'll have to get back to you.
Okay. All right, so next item on the agenda is a discussion to add an additional alternate member to the Horse Hill Subcommittee. So we have a member of the public who stepped up and asked to be on the subcommittee. I explained that we do appointments in July, and in that all the full-time membership has been taken and has been allocated, and that in this subcommittee where it was defined by the definitive plan, it doesn't call for any alternates, but we, about a year or so ago, put an alternate member on the subcommittee, and so this is now another opportunity to add another member. Do we want to? Are we interested in having another alternate, or just have him participate as a member of the public? Do we want to interview? Do we want to put out a call for alternates? How do you want to approach this?
I know you sit there now, but having sat on that subcommittee, I can't remember a meeting where we had full participation. So I think having a number of alternates for that subcommittee would be great, because then you could have a full meeting, you know, and possibly have quorum where you wouldn't without this alternate or both of the alternates.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good, and if you have somebody volunteering saying they want to do something, turning them away is the worst thing you could do.
I agree. You never know, the alternate might, you know, be a terrific member of the group.
So is that the general feel? So Peter is his name. Do we want to have Peter come visit with us at our next meeting before we actually appoint him? Do you want? What kind of process do you want to follow?
We've done that with all the other. We've done that with all the other members who wanted to join. I think it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to continue with that same function.
Okay, I agree.
Did they-
But I just want to ask.
So we've, in the past, had people had to formally request
Yep.
to join, so has he done that? Do you?
Yes, he sent me an email and formally asked. When I explained to him that there wasn't a full-time position, he asked for an alternate's position. I have that email chain here. Yeah, he put together, and I would certainly forward that to everyone. I just
So
wanted
it's
to make sure that we were open to the idea, so.
Okay.
So he is an avid user of the property. He also uses Greater Woods. I actually ran into him out on Greater Woods when I was out there and met Tom as well. He rides. So I'm not sure if you know him or not, Peter Mikolajczyk.
I believe I do.
I think if I pronounced that correctly. So I think he mentioned your name at one point. So when I saw him out on Greater Woods, he was riding a balloon bike, but there wasn't snow, so it looked like he was trying to take it out for a ride anyway. So tires were a little harder, because you didn't want them that soft. But yeah, he lives so that he abuts Wasserman Conservation Area and spends time out there as well. So I think and I told him, I said that we'd have one expectation, and that is he participates in at least one project on the property, just to see what his reaction was. And he said, yeah, no problem, I would love to do that. So,
Great.
so it's nice to have people come to meetings, but it's also nice to have people on a subcommittee that do things. So that's why I said that. So, all right, so I will ask Peter to come visit with us at our next meeting.
Yep.
And then we can get to know who he is and go from there. All right? Okay. All right. Next, Ned Pipeline and the Commission properties. So, last Thursday there was a presentation to the town council, an informative presentation which you can catch the video. But after that, the meeting went on, and during public participation, I mentioned to the council this agenda item, and that is I believe that we should be considering the idea of an environmental impact study or some sort of a study on our properties, since they will potentially be impacted by the pipeline project. And I don't feel that we have enough information about the property in order to appropriately raise concerns with the Tennessee folks or whatever, if in fact that pipeline moves forward. So I brought that up at the council meeting. I got a very positive response from the council. In fact, one of the comments was that without good facts, there's no way to guide the process. So I assured them that unless you guys told me not to, that I was going to keep pushing forward with all the concerns that we should have and be addressing around the pipeline. And this is one of them that I think we need to get in motion. So what is an environmental impact study? Well, you can Google it and you can dig into it. But essentially, I think we need to have clearer understanding of what's on the ground now. Everything from wildlife to vegetation to forestry impacts to user impacts, and then say, okay, so if you put a pipeline through here, what would that be like? And it's not just the pipeline as in its existing state, it's also the construction phase of a pipeline and what kind of impacts do they bring as well. Horse Hill we have a lot of information on. Gilmore Hill we don't have a lot of information on. I'm thinking that we also need to find a way to work with MVD because their parcel abuts Gilmore Hill and shares the same watershed, the same brook system, and all that, and we should understand what that piece is. That's the piece up behind their garage, which is off of Continental Boulevard, not the main office piece, and not Greens Pond. So I guess this is kind of a discussion. Anyone have any thoughts? Do you agree, disagree?
I agree. I think it's a great idea.
Who would do the study?
So we have some options. We've used some firms before. We don't. I did speak to Paul McCallie. We don't need to actually put it out to bid because it's professional services. And as long as we utilize someone that we're quite familiar with, and putting out to bid would extend the process at least another month before we could even start, and we might run into issues with doing that. So who? My recommendation would be Jeff Littleton, the person who did our 2010 comprehensive study of the entire town and did all the mapping and the work that he did, the biodiversity plan, that large plan.
I know what you're thinking.
I'm sure they can do it.
Okay, I'll let that go. So that was my thought, because he has a lot of familiarity with our property, knows a lot of our properties. In speaking to him, he tells me that he has, the concern might be that he's a small firm, but he tells me that he has direct connections to intern possibilities and people who can assist him. I explained to him that we've gone more high-tech, that we're using GPS and GIS, and that everything we'd want to be able to turn into layers in our GIS system so we can maintain the information. And he explained to me that that's absolutely no problem. I asked him if he had any conflicts of interest to be concerned about. Does he have any clients that would be representing the pipeline or its subsidiaries or everyone else? And he doesn't. There was concern that a lot of the environmental organizations or people who do that kind of work are already being gobbled up by the various other towns and or pipeline associated folks. So I'm not sure there's a large pool of people just waiting to do a project like this. Yeah.
I just want to also iterate that in the past, Jeff has been, Jeff's always obviously done that, pretty extensive search of the town. And we just heard a comment on it in the first item that we covered tonight, is that there are items that the state knows about, or areas or items such as wildlife and fauna that aren't advertised. And Jeff has done some of that work for us in the past and knows our town very well. So he's been responsible for helping the Heritage Committee, Heritage Association, already find some of these areas, even within our town and areas around us, of some of these rare species and things that aren't really acclaimed and spoken about broadly. So he's very good, boots on the ground type of guy. He understands this area very well.
I think this information could potentially prove critical to any, whatever, rerouting or,
Right.
Anyway, it affect the pipeline. Could be critical information.
Yeah. So my thought is that we should take the time between this meeting and our next meeting and try to create a statement of work to define what it is we want done and allow Jeff to provide us some preliminary numbers so we understand what that would be like. And the question is that something, yes, you want to do, and two, who wants to assist with doing that?
For one, yes, I absolutely would like to start forward on this. I think Jeff's an excellent choice, and it's someone that could, glean a lot of data for us in regards to what's going to be impacted.
If you're gonna work on, I'd like to be a part of that. I'd like to go, whatever, go over your, are you?
Well, no, I can volunteer you. Just make him use spell check.
That's right.
All right, so the three of us put together a statement of work.
Sure.
All right, so because it's basically a subcommittee of the commission, we are a public body and we'll have to keep good records and notes of everything we do, okay?
Is this like something we're shooting for the spring to be done, or?
Yeah, so that's the next point. So now we have timelines. There's no way we're going to have a study done before the March 18th deadline for the part of the whole pre-approval process. But if Kinder Morgan is going to stay on target for their schedule, which was to submit their formal application in the fall, they're going to be doing their own study here over the next few months, and we'll be looking at their own routes, and therefore we need to be able to influence them before they submit their application. So my thought would be we would need to have a study, at least rough draft, good data in the early May timeframe, if not mid-May timeframe, so we could start making those influential calls and comments. Again, that's all based on what I believe the timeline is, and if you have anything you'd like to add, I'm more than happy to hear from you.
Thanks. I can wait till you're done.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. If my timelines are off, please let me know.
I will.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So my thought would be is a preliminary draft, which with most of the data field work done by mid-May, so we could have a final draft in the June timeframe that we could all say yes, we agree to. That way we can make that. Talking to Jeff, he likes the idea of middle May because that gives him a chance to map vernal pools and do other things and actually go in and find the egg masses and other things that actually say this is a vernal pool or not, as opposed to just a puddle of water, you might say, okay? And he also at that point will have a chance to see all the critters running around, all the amphibians will be out, the reptiles will be out, there'll be eggs and there'll be birds, nesting and all that kind of stuff that you want to see. Never mind, the plant life will be coming out, the flowers will be coming out. It'll be real easy to identify the leaves and the other things of the fauna that you need to be looking at. So he thought my timeline was good. He said he needs to be able to do field work through April in order to have the right information that we would need. So
Does the funding come out of our conservation fund?
that would be where it'd have to come from. Okay, because I'm not going to bring it to a town vote. So
So this would be Fund 53.
that would be my target. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Did
I
he
don't-
give you any idea of what he
No.
thought something like this
No.
would cost?
Well, he said to me, it really depends on how much time in the field you want me to spend. He said, because that's where most of the time is going to have to be. And then he also said it also depends on the parcels and how much of the parcels we want to do. Do we want to do the entire Horse Hill Nature Preserve? Do we want to do the entire Gilmore Hill Memorial Forest? Do we want to do the 5 or 6 acres in MVD land? Do we want to do any other parcels in town? Do we want to expand this and look at private parcels as well? He said so that all adds into it. So I don't see this as being inexpensive.
No.
I'm thinking we're looking along the same lines as we looked at for our beaver study, but done at a much faster pace.
Right.
So I think we're looking, somewhere, personal opinion, somewhere in the 20 to 30K range by the time we're all done, documented and maps and all that stuff. But in my opinion, it's money very well spent.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have the information anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if this project doesn't happen, having that
Yeah.
set of data is
It
good
should be
stuff.
interesting to follow him and, you know, as
Yep.
he's saying, oh, look at this. And
Yeah, I mean, we could also utilize it afterwards as educational opportunities,
Yeah.
like after he did the other plan, he did a vernal pool party and other things like that, so, you know, there's no reason why we could even factor that in and make that as an expectation.
Yeah, I think we should definitely do that.
And and I've actually already been in contact with him about him this spring to do that.
Oh,
So
great.
he's expecting to hear back from us regarding that anyways.
Yeah.
So,
So.
Great.
All right. Okay, so my comments to you is if there's things that you believe need to be studied, don't assume that the three of us know that, and forward it. Okay, send it to us. All this transaction we will have available to the public if they want to see what's going on, and we will certainly report on our activities at our next meeting because that's where it'll all be coming out anyways.
okay.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about in regards to this?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I could just let you know that I heard that all of the open houses for this week have been canceled. There was supposed to be one in Milford
Yeah.
tomorrow night, but they said the whole week's been canceled. So I don't know if there's other issues other than the snow. I'm not sure where the other ones were supposed to be, but just to let you guys know in case you hadn't heard.
Okay. So that takes us to other business. Gage, anything on water control activities or anything like that?
No, I met briefly with GZA the other day. We sat down and kind of tried to align some of the names and numbers to make sure that we had them all straight because there was some confusion around the Greens Pond area as to what areas we were impacting or what we wanted to be looking at. So I think we've got that all set. We're going forward, and Tracy's going to get back to me with what she feels is a timeline for us to be getting the final report.
Okay. All right. I did have an email exchange with one of the residents around Handsome Drive. Passed a lot of information to her as to what we've been doing, where they can see things. There happened to have been an article in the Union Leader that talked a little bit about what we've been doing. I don't know if you guys caught that a few
No.
Sundays ago.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I did see that because Adam, I believe, was quoted.
Adam was quoted in it, yep. Yeah, so
Oh, I didn't see it.
the online version was okay. The paper version actually had pictures of Meadowbrook Pond.
Oh.
So
Okay.
so it was in there. It was just promoting that Milford and Merrimack have been doing beaver water control activities, so.
This was a couple Sundays ago, you said?
Not this Sunday, 3 Sundays ago, if you include yesterday.
I'm pretty sure I have an email of it. I can forward that to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
please.
does-
That would
yeah.
be, that'd be great.
Yeah, they don't have the pictures, but yeah, I think I
Going to,
have
and
it as
forgot
well.
when it
Yeah.
happened.
So,
forward.
yeah, so that covers beaver and water control. So the next item under other business that was in our agenda is the pipeline update, and yes, you're right, they postponed their meetings. There is no meetings yet scheduled for inside Merrimack, but I know that there's been correspondence. It was spoken about at the town council meeting that they're pushing hard to do that. It now looks like it'd be sometime in the March timeframe, which is, kind of a terrible thing. So, so getting to the pipeline, I think there are more activities or actions that we should be doing in regards to the pipeline. If the March 18th date for comments to FERC is real, we only meet twice before that day comes up. So what I'd suggest a lot of you do is find out a little bit more about what those kind of comments should be or could be. And I think we need to be prepared at our next meeting on March 9th to spend a majority of the meeting discussing the pipeline and what it is we as a commission would like to do.
Just so everyone knows, the FERC website is a bit frustrating. It's difficult to navigate, but you can sign up and get emails every time someone submits a comment, which I don't know if,
overwhelm you.
which
Yes.
will overwhelm you.
I get a lot.
There's almost 50 comments today,
Mm-hmm.
so it fills up your email quickly. but some of them are very. Some of the emails are great. I mean, they're very thoughtful,
Yeah.
very knowledgeable, and some of them are, you know, are not. But that's their comments. That's what they want to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think we need to be careful when we make our comments that we make them so that they're not dismissed readily because of some slant or another. I think we need to be very deliberate in what we're thinking. If we think of doing something at our next meeting, and because the timelines are very short, I think you need to be prepared to come to the next meeting with actual thoughts, not just general, well, we should do something like this. I would be prepared to bring here. I wrote it down and circulate something that we can actually look at, okay? So, yeah, it's time is clicking. So if we don't get doing something, we're either not going to do something. But I'd rather if we decided not to do something, it was a formal decision as opposed to time ran out on us.
Right.
So that's why I want to devote most of our next meeting to the pipeline, so we can at least know what we want to do.
Are you talking about our February meeting or our March meeting?
Our February meeting.
Okay.
Because if we need to have the first meeting in March, we still have that meeting available to us. You know what I mean? So that's all I have on the pipeline duck boxes.
So I brought the maps from 2003 of what was existing.
Yeah.
And I gave Gage my knowledge of what we did in 2003, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
However, I didn't draw any maps with the angles and footage on it like was done back in 2000, 2003. However, I would like to continue doing what we've done in years past, which is cleaning them out, replacing the wood chips, and putting up damaged or removed duck boxes. So in the past, we've drawn from a supply that Eber had of duck boxes. At this time, we don't have any left. So what should we do? Should we go looking for somebody to build them for us, or should we purchase them, or should we, well, you know, what's the...
Do you have a recommendation?
I'd like to purchase more and redo a couple of ponds. For example, the beaver pond off of Beebe Lane in Greater Woods at one time had several wood duck boxes. Now it has none. I've identified 3 trees that have enough southern exposure to get sun on them, and I think we could at least use 3 in that pond. And I'd be willing to install them and, you know, maintain them going forward. Right now we have a pond without, and I think it would be a great, you know, it's out of the way. There aren't any trails close to it. I think we could get some activity in that pond where there was duck boxes in the past. I believe the trees have fallen, and maybe some of the duck boxes have just fallen off of, you know, a couple of the 2-3 trees that I've identified.
Okay.
The winter would be the time to put them up.
Exactly. Yeah, that's when I've always done my maintenance is in the winter, and it's easy. You know you're almost reaching down on them, you know, as opposed to if you're in a boat or on waders, you're up here. It's much harder. And I think the more times you go to it when the ducks could be in the box, that's not good. You want to do it this time of year so they don't know you were there.
Eber had a plan for duck boxes.
It's in there.
Is it the
Yep.
drawing? Is it?
It is.
And he also had a gent that was building them.
He did. He's
Is that-
since moved out of town.
Okay.
Are they usually like made out of cedar or something, or
White pine.
white
Yeah,
pine?
white pine, the non-pressure treated.
Yeah.
as aged as you can find it type of white pine.
We have some, it's not quite as thick as the originals, but we have some cedar, not cedar,
Hemlock.
hemlock, yeah, still in the town garage. I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of shape it's in. I went through and picked a lot of it to do some of the trail work, but, and it's pretty, some of it's in pretty rough shape, but to build a duck box, we may have enough, so we can, it's gonna be a son of a gun to go get it now. or 20 minutes from now, or an hour from now. But we can go see if we can find some of that stuff at least.
Okay. So what do you want to do from here? Do you want to get a quote to get them built? Do you want to try and find a builder? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't come prepared with are they available on the market?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But I'd like to do it. I mean,
Mhm.
I'd like to get 3 at least for that, that one pond that we could monitor that. And, the monitoring, I should explain. So what I do now is when I go to the duck box, you open it up and you count the eggshells. So you can count how many ducks were born in this box over the last year. And it's fairly simple. You take the shells and the wood shavings, you sweep it out after you've counted them, and you put new shavings back in, close the box, and it's good to go for another year. So it's pretty easy maintenance and and upkeep, and you get a pretty good count of what what the box yielded for for young in a year.
$60 a piece from bestnest.com.
So do you want to come back at our next meeting with an idea of what you want to spend
With a
and
quote? Okay. Yeah, because, February meeting, we could order them and get them up before the ice thaws, so
Yeah.
plenty of time. And if people have an idea of a good spot, please reach out to us and let us know where we could get them locally. I'd prefer.
Yeah.
And along the same lines, if anyone is happening to be listening and they'd like to construct some of these, it's pretty simple apparently.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm no good with.
Yeah.
I could build a bridge, but not something that the bird wants to live in.
All right. I will agenda it again for next meeting.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
Okay. Yep. Joint meeting with the Amherst Conservation Commission. So February the 11th, we're meeting with the Conservation Commission in Amherst at the fire station. Does everyone know where that building is? I think that's the joint building with the police station and all that, right over by the Black Forest Cafe and Bakery and all that. So the place with the good food. Okay. So right now, there's only 2 items on the agenda. One would be Greater Woods. The other would be the pipeline. I think that will fill the agenda, to fill our time slot. So, does that
Okay.
sound good to everyone?
Yep.
In preparing for the February meeting, at least for Greater Woods, we're gonna wanna probably have some handouts, talk about our trail map, talk about our Stewart plan. So I haven't got details on how we want to handle that yet. I got to talk to John, their chairman, as to how we want to approach it. But what I'd like to do is have an exchange about the land on their side, the land on our side, problems, issues that we're having with each other's land, or issues where we conflict, issues where we can complement, and then how do we, meet again, or what's the next step. So I think it'll be more educational than anything else. But that's my impression. So, anyone have any other thoughts? Anything else you want me to push, or push out to John that we want to accomplish in the meeting? No? Okay. All right. So I'll find out more about logistics. Maybe we can bring pictures, or do we need to? I don't know. I don't know how familiar their members are with our property. I'm not all that familiar with theirs. So, we will post the meeting here in town so that people know that we're a public body meeting. I'll work out with John how we manage minutes. Ideally, if they're going to host it, I'm going to ask them to manage the minutes side of it. So, but we'll go from there.
Yeah, I saw it was on the calendar.
Yeah. Okay, so one minor thing. Well, we still have the Parks and Rec Winter Carnival coming up in February. If there's interest in putting something together, I'll leave that at that. You can all decide. I know there's a whole lot going on, and I honestly don't have time. So, we got the annual bill from the Society for New Hampshire for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests. We normally give them a donation for our membership. It's in the town budget. It's $250. I was going to process this just like we would normally do and get it handled. Any objections?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, so that will go through. That's already on the town budget. It's already set aside, but I'll take care of that. If any of you have been down to Watson Park, you'll notice there is a kiosk behind the pavilion. That's our kiosk. So it's rather tall. 4x8 panel. When I heard 4x8, I assumed 4x8. No, it's 4x8.
Oh.
8 side panels.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
It color matching.
Hope we get a lot of snow.
So
You can see the top of it.
So essentially, I'm thinking that sometime in the March or April timeframe, we're going to have to figure out how we want to manage and utilize that kiosk now that it's available to us.
Right.
Okay? Just throwing it out there. I spoke about the council meeting. I know we had thought about having a non-public to address some of our non-public issues for this meeting. Obviously, the agenda got very full. I believe February 9th, the agenda will be very full again. If someone really wants me to schedule a separate meeting for our non-public issues, I can do that, or I can delay it till March. So
Delay it.
Yeah.
let me know what you think.
Okay, delaying.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have for other business. Anyone else have anything under other business?
I do not.
Takes us to minutes. Did any or everyone get a chance to review the minutes?
I've not gone through all of them. I'm about halfway through.
Yeah, that's kind of the boat I'm in. I didn't get through all the minutes.
Get quite through all. There were a lot of pages.
Yeah, so I'm happy to take a motion to table them for the next meeting, or,
Motion to table the minutes to the next meeting.
okay,
Second?
Second.
all right. Moved by Gage, seconded by Mike. Right ear was faster than the left ear.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so that's unanimous. We'll table the minutes to our next meeting. That brings up public comment.
Good evening. Jody Valancourt, 35 Greenleaf Street. Wanted to speak to you tonight regarding the pipeline. I know that I've been here before, and I've been sending you information as it's been coming to me. I hope that you've found it helpful, and if you have any questions or need anything else, please let us know. Deb, Amanda, and I all want to be a source of basically a resource and help and support to the Conservation Commission in any way that we can. So first of all, I wanted to tell you how pleased I am to hear about the joint meeting. I didn't realize that you were having that meeting with the Amherst Conservation Commission. I think working with them on Greater Woods is a great idea, but the pipeline issue as well, they've been very collaborative with us. We've had a lot of townspeople and actually elected officials reach out to Deb, Amanda, and I for some information. They want to work together, and they've been very helpful with the gathering of factual data regarding the pipeline project. And the Town of Amherst website actually has an incredible amount of information regarding the pipeline. And they've actually posted our presentation. There's a link to our presentation on their website, not on the Merrimack Town website, but on the Amherst Town website, so you can find it there. The other thing I wanted to thank you for was for approving the environmental impact study. I think it's just essential that we do that. You all know that when I was here a couple weeks ago that I asked for somebody to please do that. I think that's really important. So thank you very much for undertaking that. I think that's really something that's just absolutely necessary. I know when Tim made his annual presentation to the town council, he asked the town council to take the lead when it came to the pipeline. But I also know the other night I heard a couple of times come out of some of the council members that we think the Conservation Commission is going to take the lead on a lot of this. So I think this body is going to be asked to do a lot more than you may or may not realize, and people are depending on you. But I ultimately think the town council, rightly so, was asked by Chairman Tenhave to take the lead, but I'm not sure that we're going to have enough time for all of that to happen. So whatever this body can do, like with the environmental impact study, I'm greatly appreciative of. The comment period, also the March 18th deadline, I have no reason to believe that we're going to get an extension to that. I know Vice Chair Mahon said he was confident we were. I don't know what he's basing that confidence on, to be honest with you. Kinder Morgan has actually, you talk about the FERC website, we're getting the emails, Tom's getting the emails every day, and it is overwhelming, but it's also a very important part of the process for people to put comments in. And some of the comments are quite emotional, but this is a very upsetting topic to a lot of people, especially if this pipeline is going to go through your backyard. But I do know that Kinder Morgan actually, when there was a statewide effort to ask the, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the petition that the New Hampshire Pipeline Awareness Group put out there, and Kinder Morgan, they filed a formal written response to FERC asking FERC not to extend the deadline. So Kinder Morgan's lobbying against an extension if it's in the sea of comments on the FERC website. So I'm not 100% positive. I'm doubtful, actually. So I think we should all be acting as the March 18th deadline is the deadline. So I was really happy to hear you say that. And I hope that the commission does actually take the opportunity to file some formal comments, because I think there are two issues that could possibly affect where the route of this pipeline goes. One of them is the effect that it would have on our conservation land. I think that's something that the federal government would possibly pay attention to. And the other issue is the effect that it could possibly have on our water supply. So those are very important issues, and I think as upset, and I'm heartbroken for people who this honestly is going to go through their backyard. I gave the big disclaimer at the town council meeting, this is not going through my backyard, but this is my community, these are my neighbors, and I'm feeling quite badly for a lot of them had to suffer from blasting damage from prior projects. So some people in town are really taking on the burden of this personally. So the water supply, I just wanted to let you know Amanda was at the Merrimack Village District meeting at 4 o'clock this afternoon. She was calling me and texting me as I was on my way to this meeting. We're all trying to cover all the different bases in town, and your name's being thrown around a lot, Tim, so just so that you know. But there was actually some important information and just a couple of quick points I wanted to make. There was a gentleman there, too, Clay, from the Horseshoe on Greens Pond Road Fish and Game Club, the president, he attended the water district meeting this afternoon. Okay. And the Fish and Game Club has concerns about this pipeline because I guess it will go through their property. They have and this is just through text messaging, so, and I don't know when the minutes for this meeting are going to be available, but apparently there's a project, something along the lines of a forestry project that they want to do, and they're not going to be able to run heavy equipment if there's a pipeline. So he also spoke about wanting his club to possibly connect with the Conservation Commission to work collaboratively. So Amanda was getting contact information to him regarding you, so you'll probably hear from him. The Merrimack Village District, they said their main concern regarding this project was possible damage to the water main pipe, that I guess this route goes along the exact same spot that the water main that crosses Camp Sargent Road same exact spot, so I don't know how they'll co-locate maybe something, Tim, I don't know. But anyway, that's their major concern. I know the director of MVD said that he has met with Kinder Morgan representatives. They've requested permission to do a survey of the MVD land. So they're probably going to move that forward. I can't imagine that they would deny that. They talked about having a meeting with you as a representative of the Conservation Commission, and they talked about Jamie, who's a geologist.
Yeah, so Jamie is the person who helps them with all their wells.
Okay.
I forget the name of the firm that he's with, but they have an engineering firm that they work with all the time,
Right.
and Jamie's one of the main engineers on
So
it.
they're talking about everybody getting together.
Yep,
Someone
yep.
asked them what would happen if one of the wellheads were damaged, and they said an estimated $2 to $3 million to replace the damaged wellhead. And then someone asked them if the aquifer were damaged, what would that mean for the town of Merrimack? And one of the commissioners answered that we'd have to buy our water from someone else.
Yeah.
So it's really a big deal.
Yeah.
And then there was discussion about possibly bonding, because you know one of the town council members is also a water commissioner as well. So he talked about possibly bonding. And then Amanda asked, there are a couple of different protective radius classifications, and again, there's so much information to learn about this. We're trying to understand which is which. And I guess the most restrictive is a sanitary protective radius.
Oh.
And that we found out is 400 feet. And I guess the closest one would be well number 1, which is not in service, so that's a good thing. But they couldn't answer her. They weren't positive how close. They thought it was somewhere around 800 feet for the pipeline, the proposed path to the closest wellhead, which is still too close for my liking. But I guess it's technically not in the sanitary protective radius. So I thought that was information you guys might want. And then one final thing, the town council. You might know this already, Tim. I don't know. It was news breaking this afternoon. They've set up an emergency meeting this coming Thursday. The town council is at the 29th of January at 7 p.m. to just discuss the pipeline.
Oh, I'm not aware of that.
There's an agenda posted on the town website, so I encourage everyone who's interested. There is a agenda item at the end of the meeting for public comment, so the public will be allowed to comment to the town council at the meeting Thursday night.
Okay.
And thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
One thing I forgot to mention, you'll probably find interesting. New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions is going to try to pull together a regional conservation commission meeting for the 23rd of February. I believe it's now scheduled from 6 to 9 p.m. in Milford. Yeah, that's my pen.
Stealing your pen, so
Oh.
better watch me.
Is that the kind of stuff you want to put on the calendar?
That
Our
me.
calendar?
I don't see why not. People should know what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I can add that stuff.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the joint meeting you should probably add.
okay.
Yeah.
Where's
Might
that?
want to put a link to their agenda. They post their agendas on their website, so they have a general spot. It's up to you.
Okay.
But yeah,
Where's that in Milford? Do you know?
I don't know yet. I would think if you're going to call one that it hits every commission that's impacted by the pipeline, you've got 15 communities. Do I have that number right?
I think so.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you're talking
Something.
a room that has to hold a few hundred people,
Yeah.
especially if you include the public.
They do have a very large room upstairs.
Yeah,
Same
I know. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've been up there a number of times, but
it's pretty
yeah.
You meet, are you saying in the Milford Center?
In
or in the
Milford.
In the safety center?
in above the town hall.
Yeah, the one that's
Ups-
right off the circle.
Yeah,
Yep.
upstairs. They have,
Yeah, but you think that's going to be big enough?
I don't know.
it could hold 100 anyway.
I don't know. I don't know the details of the meeting yet. All I know is the date. So they must have a location in mind, and more to come.
Great.
So, all right. So that takes care of public comments, commissioner comments. Cindy,
No.
Matt.
No, I don't think I have anything else. I think I covered it all.
Okay. Gage,
I'm all set.
Mike.
No comment?
Yeah. Well, everyone, stay warm, stay safe, and we will see you shortly.
Motion to adjourn?
Good, good.
You're on
Good,
top of that.
Cindy. Second by Gage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0-0.
Were able to glean the specific changes that you were looking for out of that hour and a half